you want the best for someone, but maybe that someone isn't the best for you.
There you have it.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people, and I'm like, that's what you need to hear from this.
Yeah. Welcome to Vulnerability is In.
Presented by No Subject Apparel and recorded at No Subject Studios.
I'm Christian.
And I'm Faith.
And together we explore queer culture while promoting self-love and expression of identity with fun and powerful conversations on today's understanding of what it means to be vulnerable.
What's up, everybody? So we are doing another remote episode today. So we have Christian from the other side of town.
Literally.
Today's kind of based off of about a week and a half ago, I saw a post from the game We're Not Really Strangers, which I do recommend playing, especially if you can play it with someone you're maybe interested in dating or a significant other. That's just my little pro tip for you. But they had a post that was talking about, it says, have you ever felt healthy love? Are you even attracted to it? Or do you find unhealthy love more attractive because you know it better? Most importantly, do you believe you're worthy of healthy love? And it just kind of reminded us of, some of the game playing that we see. And I don't know, there's this concept of a lot of people want what they can't have and maybe chase things that they know aren't good for them. Subconsciously, it's not even forefront, but yeah, we figured we might give it a run and talk about that some.
Yeah, and starting off with it, I think I myself have played both sides of the chaser and wanting to be chased. And it definitely can, in the heat of the moment of things, it definitely can go into kind of what you're used to and how you see in a relationship. Basically being comfortable, kind of a moment of feeling stuck or grasping the fact that you think that it is healthy to where you have hope for that person, that it will eventually get better. And sometimes it can, if you are open to being vulnerable and having that open communication. But sometimes also it's best to have a healthy space for each other. One, you can stop it from getting from that unhealthy point. But if it does get to that unhealthy point, being open about having that conversation and kind of hitting it right face on, that way you can do something about it. I think in relationships, things change in a blink of an eye, and you go back to that moment and you kind of think, where did this go wrong? I don't understand. And it can go into that unhealthy pattern. And it is good to notice it firsthand when things are kind of out of your normal routine and doing what you can to fix it. I think one little thing can lead to so many open doors that aren't for the best for relationships as well.
Mm-hmm. And then it's one little thing turns into much bigger things eventually.
Yeah. And to me, a healthy love is being vulnerable and having communication and having trust. And I'm not saying that every relationship has to be, you are going to have disagreements. You are going to have tough times with one another, but it's not that giving up attitude. I'm one to speak. I don't like giving up. I think that I'm one who is a fighter who, if I'm into someone, I do want to fix it. However, overlooking my past relationships, I was wanting to fix the wrong things because when you think it's a healthy love, you might even love the idea of someone, of who they are, the attention that you're getting from them, kind of even that, like you said, chasing attitude, because people do like being chased. And especially it goes into as well of past relationships coming into your present. If you're used to the toxic, if you're used to being unhealthy, if you're used to all those negative routines, and then you meet someone who brings you that happiness, that healthiness, that you know is good for you, but you can't tear that wall down. You have a wall built up to even allow yourself to accept it, because in a way you are so, the unhealthiness and the toxic of your last relationship or any relationship that could be on your mind, that is the one thing on site that you are thinking of. And some people, it's hard for them to accept that they do deserve a healthy love. Everyone deserves a healthy love. But if you go on with someone who is not being beneficial for you and the right reasons, I mean, the simple looking up what exactly a partner should be doing for you and even what you should be doing for them. But sometimes it's hard to recognize those things because of this unhealthy pattern that people are in, and it can ruin a lot of good things for them, especially because it's all about taking that risk, and everyone's worthy of love. Don't minimal your love because of what you have been given before, because there is a healthy love out there for you. But before you're even to take on that healthy love, you have to accept that you deserve that love too.
And by accepting that, you know, you deserve that, that's what gives you permission to like walk away from the relationships that are not serving that. And like, I don't know, I'm just thinking of some friends who, you know, just, I feel like they settle. And sometimes there's this, I think there's this thing that they think about like, oh, well, I'm already this far into it with someone, so I should try to make it work. And I'm just like, you deserve better than that. Let it go.
Yeah. And, you know, it is one of those things where there are people, there's myself, and there are other people in my life who I've been there. And I will say the people that I had in my life during that time, whenever I was going through an unhealthy relationship in my past, they were giving me the advice. And as much as the advice was given, and at the end of the day, they didn't end up being right. They knew that I deserved better. I knew that I even deserved better, but it was hard for me to actually come to terms and accept. Because again, I was clinging on to the what ifs. I was clinging on to maybe it'll change. Maybe this will go. And I had hope. And as much as I want to say, you know, even giving this advice now to even the listeners, it is one of those things where we've been through it and we've also seen it. And there are people out there that do deserve a lot better. And there's a whole fucking world out there for you. There's a lot that the world can offer you. There's enough fish in the fucking sea, let me tell you. But also it comes to having those things where trying to work those problems out in those relationships that you think that can, typically you try to work them out. And then I'd say, like, I don't know statistics on it. I bet there's one out there, of course, but I would say you give it a try you keep trying. And then like, oh, it's good. You have that high and you think that it's so good, it's going good. And then like in a blink of an eye, again, the same shit is happening. The same shit is reoccurring, because the big word of it all, the big thing to recognize if you are working on that with someone and you want that healthy love, the two of you both want it, but also you have to let go of the past shit as well. And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize, that if you do come to terms and you're like, and you take space apart and you're like, okay, I actually want to do this with you and I want to move forward with you and I want to do this differently than the first time, you actually have to do those things. You have to take time to build a healthier routine for yourself, and they have to build a healthy routine for themselves. And then you need to build that healthy routine for the both of you. And yeah.
And work on that lovely word we all know, communication.
Communication. And
not be, I think one of the main things is just letting go of being defensive. I mean, that's a lot of the battle right there.
I mean, it is. And it's like two wrongs don't make a right. And the way I see it with people is like, I mean, using myself and Delaney, we don't agree on a lot of things. And by that, I mean, I'm not even meaning it as a bad thing. We both are very strongly opinioned, but our opinions don't always agree. But we do comprehend, we do take each other's opinions in, and we consider those things. And it's more of a, I think, I feel. And whenever you're wording it that way, in no way, shape, or form should anyone that is wanting a healthy love be shut down. If someone is feeling a certain way about a certain topic, they definitely need to let that out, because if they don't, then it's going to build up and it's going to blow up eventually in your face and their face. But also, it's one of those things where coming to terms with those tough conversations. And for myself, if I am hurting my partner emotionally, I know that there's something that I'm doing that is upsetting them. I feel that because I care for them. And I think that sometimes in relationships, especially when they are unhealthy, you do things to spite them. And whenever those things become spiteful, it's honestly like, it's upsetting that this is someone that you say that you love. And that is a big fucking word to use. And I don't think it's a word to necessarily throw around to just anyone. And, you know, it's just, if you love someone so deeply, then you want to make things right. You don't want to say things to spite them or to make the situation worse. You're going to be open to that. And I think that's a big thing for a lot of people to recognize. And it is difficult. I mean, I'm no fucking expert with relationships. You know, I definitely have had my fair share of them that did not benefit me in the right ways. But I tell you what, I kind of got out of that bubble of, oh, I'm loving the idea of this person. And I actually realized that I was meant to go through those relationships as lessons. And I think that's hard for other people to realize too, because they have been together for X, Y, and Z a matter of time. And then you come to terms and you're like, well, I've already spent all this time with this person. There's no one else out there for me. But in reality, maybe that was your lesson to get you to that love that is healthy for you.
And also that reminds me of like, I see a lot of people, and I have been this person, so no hate, but like, there are a lot of people who would rather put up with unhealthy relationships than be alone.
Yeah.
And by making that choice, that keeps you shut off even more from finding something that's actually beneficial.
Exactly. And at that point, the whole concept of the fear of being alone, I think it's been a fear of mine as well. But I've also realized that if I can't even be alone, then I definitely can't be with someone else, because your alone time, you're putting all that time into yourself. Whenever you're in a healthy love relationship, not only are you having that time to put in for yourself, but you're also putting in time for that partner as well. And it's hard. If you can't love yourself as much, then you're definitely not going to love someone else who you have difficult times with and who you can overcome that with. And it is tough and it is hard. And I think social media as a whole has definitely like ruined relationships too. That's a whole nother thing. But being more present with that person and actually taking the time to sit down and fucking talk. And it does get difficult. Once you get in that comfortableness and you're like, oh shit, like this is where I'm at. And it can be a commitment too, can be a scary thing to where that cause issues, even in a healthy love, that can go from healthy love to unhealthy because of being scared or having a buildup, you know? And it's a lot of things that play into it. And it seems, talking about it, it does seem so simple, but also there's more in depth of things where you really have to grasp, especially when two people are involved and both of them have to be involved in the right ways.
You mentioned phones, and it's really funny because when we talked about social media a few weeks ago, I talked about how I have a tendency, like Morgan and I do, to like, and by this, I mean, I'm usually the one that like, literally, I will pause the show if she's on her phone, and I'm like, and then she'll just be like, I'm putting it down. She's usually on TikTok, but she caught me on a game yesterday. It like went the other way around. But yeah. I guess to spin into that though, it is true. It's like, I feel like I've gotten a lot better about phones coming out, but like, if you just put your phone down and you're there, that already takes care of some quality time all on its own.
Yeah, no, it does. And even being out with friends too. Even going into healthy love can be with friendships as well.
Oh yeah.
And I am bad about whenever I haven't been going out a lot. But here recently I started hanging out with friends a little bit more, and I tend to realize and recognize whenever I am on my phone and to kind of put it down and be more present. It is honestly, if you think about it, it is very disrespectful to be at a table sitting with friends, with your partner, and the conversation kind of dies out and everyone ends up being on their phones.
It drives me insane.
Yeah. And it's like, where did conversation go? Where did having a normal conversation, actually catching up, talking about different topics, where did that all go? And I am on social media, obviously, and sometimes I do take breaks to detox myself. But I also have tried to set times on whenever, even though I'm at home, I'm alone, I'm having me time, whatever else. If I'm on my phone, I'm really not having that me time. I'm having fucking phone time, and I'm scrolling through all these social media apps that aren't benefiting me in any shape, way, or form, like nothing like that. And so I try to hold myself accountable in spending more present time with myself by journaling, by watching a movie, just chilling, even going outside. I do take my phone everywhere. And the reason why is because I really am scared to get kidnapped, especially in the fucking life we live today. And
you can share your location with me again if you need
I know. No, I know. I do take it everywhere with me. I wish that I could feel safe enough to even like go on a walk without it. But I don't think times will ever be that way again, sadly, especially where I live, like in Nashville. But either way, regardless, it is one of those things where with a healthy love, holding yourself accountable too in those moments, or allowing even your partner to hold you accountable. And that's one thing to buzz off of what you said earlier. Holding your partner accountable becomes them wanting to be accountable to have that open conversation about how they're feeling, but then you reacting in a defensive way. And it's like, okay, at this point, why would I even bring that up? If you react in a way that's negative, then like overall the issue is going to continue. And at that point, I've been there. I won't say anything. I'll just keep fucking quiet until more and more blows up. And then I know the end is near. And it sucked to have that mindset, but it's all about that open mindset for yourself, having that space for yourself, and then having that open mindset for your partner too, regardless if they think the same way you do or not.
I meant to mention it earlier when you were talking about doing things to spite the other person and stuff. It came up, I think it came up even in the last week. Morgan's been in a couple past relationships where there's a lot of button pushing on purpose. And she like brought that up, and I was like, I don't even want to. I was like, I don't know how a lot of people handle like the stress of really like unhealthy relationships, I guess, because I know she and I will even have like an issue that really in the grand scheme of things is not bad, but I will literally just feel like I get such bad anxiety over something so small that I genuinely do not know how people function if they're dealing with actual like blow up fights and stuff.
Yeah. And I've been the person to blow up. I've also been the person that's been blown up on. And previously it was unhealthy to where either I would start the blow up and the blow up would come back, or the blow up would be at me and then I'd blow up. And then, you're fighting fire with fire at that part. But it's also good to recognize that there's a time and place for everything, even with a hard relationship. And in that moment, I get it with the anxiety and everything. You want to make it right, but also there may come a time where in the heat of the moment, if it is a tough conversation of whatever it may be, little or small, if you know that there's a blow up there, coming back and coming to terms and being like, okay, let's pick up on this later, whenever we both have processed through it. And that's also something very healthy to recognize is time and place, when to have that conversation. For myself, being distant with Delaney, and we're still figuring a lot out with ourselves, both individually and together. We can't text whenever there may be a misunderstanding. I like saying the word misunderstanding because really there's not any arguments there. And if there is, it's nothing crazy. Again, it's a healthy environment, healthy love that I am in. But if there is a misunderstanding, we cannot text, because myself, I read into text totally wrong. I seriously think that the world is crashing whenever I'm reading text. And so we've learned that about each other. And we know even if she's busy, I'm busy, because we both work throughout the week, whatever it may be, we have that open space to be like, okay, let's talk about this at a time and place that's right. And she will call me and we will talk about it, and we will have that misunderstanding come to an understanding of how each other feel about that certain topic. I think text messages in general over a tough conversation, or even if you're fucking breaking up with someone, grow the fuck up, dude. I can't even grasp that. I can't, if you have to, I get it, tough conversations over texting, but if you have to break up with someone over a text message, like, you don't even need to be in a relationship at all. And I don't even know if people in this generation like do shit like that anymore. I did that when
I was 16.
Yeah. Like, I mean, in high school, I get in high school. I'm talking about, sadly,
I know.
As much as I want to say we are adults, like in this age range, even your age range, it's sad to say, a lot of these routines and everything do remind me of shit I did in high school. And I've done it myself, even at the age that I am now. But I do try to recognize it whenever I'm like, this unhealthy shit is shit that should have happened in high school. And I think it's just all in all very difficult for us as adults to confront and to have tough conversations, or even how to go about things. And it's sad because, again, I think it is also social media, a big thing. Not knowing how to conversate, but I am like antisocial in a way now, like anxiety and everything from working from home, being at home, like all the COVID and everything. Like, it's tough, it's difficult. And I don't know like how I would approach someone and being like, hey, there's something on my mind. Like especially with my friends, can we talk about this? Like even thinking about that kind of gives me anxiety. It's something that's difficult, I feel.
Another thing I was going to say is that, which I don't know if I've talked about it much in the past or not, but like, now when I say this isn't the case 100% of the time, but I do find that a majority of the time I do see a relation here, but people tend to, it's kind of like what they watched their parents do. They allow that, whether that's good or bad.
Yeah, I definitely could see that, especially for a more of a broken home, divorce. I think depending on age as well, of whenever they went through that separation, that divorce period with their parents, I feel like even some may be scared to have that love, a healthy one, of course, because it is a mirror image. In a lot of ways, you can think in that way of, is this the love that my parents had? And it kind of, because it was mirrored to you whenever you were younger or even a teenager or whatever else, you kind of see it as normal. For myself, my parents weren't together. They separated whenever I was a lot younger. But I still had people around me that did have a healthy love, that did hold. I knew what it looked like to be loved and to love. And for myself, it has been something that I've always wanted. I do crave love. I do crave affection. More so of, if even I was questioning at a younger age, even if I was given that by my parents growing up. And some people can be the complete opposite. They can be like a fuck this kind of attitude. I don't want it. It's something that I just have no interest in. And which also is okay. It's not okay to string people's feelings along just because you may be scared to jump in that arena and take that risk, actually thinking that it's hard for people to accept that they do deserve a healthy love, even with relationships they've been through or relationships that they have seen from their parents, from family members, from even friends growing up. It's sad. It is sad.
I think the main thing I noticed that I took from my parents, which this is the main difference that gets brought up, even when we lived in that one house together, or, even with Morgan too, is like when I grew up, I never saw an argument. Yeah. Really? Like I would see a disagreement, but they never fought. My parents never yelled. I think I heard my mom yell one time, maybe my dad once, if that. And so, so if I'm somewhere and that happens, I will shut down and freak the heck out in like 2 seconds. And you know that because you live with me. And usually when I am having those freakouts, whoever the person is that's like, the one yelling or whatever it is, they come from a house where that's what they did all the time. Like it was normal. And it's like, and that's been, I would say relationship wise, that's been one of the big things Morgan and I had to work on, because how she grew up, there was like a lot of, more intense fights and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And then there's me who, will go cry in a corner. So, oh yeah. But that was a lot of our deal was her learning not to, which she's actually never she and I have never really had an incident. That's because I like let her know that it was a thing. But
that's another thing, letting it be known that it is a thing, is definitely one of the things. One of the things here is spinning back on to the healthy love. Have you ever felt healthy love? Reading this post that we were basing this episode off of too, as well. And this was something for me, even it was hard for me to accept. I think it's something that I still am working getting past. I think that I've said this multiple times, but it says, realizing there was never something wrong with you and your past relationships. You just weren't with the right person. And kind of buzzing off of that, of necessarily like where you brought up, coming from a parent's standpoint, is I always thought there was something wrong with me. I thought that I didn't deserve love. I thought that I was hard to love, or I was incapable of someone to love me, because of the way that I've carried myself. I've thought that even no one can love me the way that I love them. All those other things. And I think that is a negative mindset for even me to put myself in, and for others to put their self in too. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. And I feel like an unhealthy love can really make you feel crazy. And in a way, you don't recognize that it is manipulation that's making you feel that way. It is emotional abuse. I think that's something that's not talked about enough. Is you may not detect it right now, but what is toxic and what is unhealthy about your love is, in some way, shape, or form, it doesn't have to be physical abuse. It can be emotional abuse. And that's another thing, despite off of that as well. Growing up, people who grow up in a home where domestic violence may be a thing. And again, abuse doesn't have to be physical. It can be emotional. And the way that you go about talking to your partner and the disrespect that you show there, it can mentally fuck someone up. It can mentally fuck up their brain, thinking that there is something wrong with them, that they are crazy, that they need help. Many different things that can take effect into someone's daily life. And it's hard once you start thinking those negative ways, then you start kind of believing it. And then you spiral down of not even being able to communicate on how you feel about a certain situation, because that person is manipulating you into thinking that you are completely wrong.
No, you're absolutely right. I was like, maybe since we based this on the post and you brought it back up, I'm like, maybe we could read the rest of it a little bit.
Oh yeah, that's what I was. I mean, we touched a lot on.
Yeah, you read number 4.
Yeah. Another one is, I would say, number 2, feeling inspired to be the best version of who you already are. Continuing to feed off of that. Your partner should be inspiring you to be better, to do better, not bring you down, not make you feel like a fucking hole in the wall, like you don't matter. Because again, you're going to wake up and you're going to start thinking those things about yourself, and it'll just spiral down.
If it's right, then them being there is going to add to your life, not make it more complicated.
Yeah. No. Yeah. And a relationship shouldn't, with two people and with love and everything, the way that I look into it is, it shouldn't make things in your life more complicated. It shouldn't feel like it's a job to care and love someone and allow for you to be loved. It should be one of the easiest things. That should be your go-to person. That person that brings light and energy into your life, makes you more driven to reminding you of the small things, giving you affirmations of even when you're down. You want 100%, 100%, 50-50, whatever in a relationship, but sometimes it isn't always flowers and fucking roses. And it's not always, it can be an earthquake, a tornado hitting the fucking fan for your partner, but it's also validating that and doing whatever you can to uplift that person and get you guys on the right track with those gentle reminders. It can go a long way. And I think stress is another thing that adds to that. But with your partner during a stressful time, they should be there to help, to benefit you, to get you out of that rut that you're kind of going through. And if they're not doing that and they're bringing you down more, they're kind of sinking the ship with you in it, then you can want the best for someone. You want the best for someone, but maybe that someone isn't the best for you.
There you have it.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people, and I'm like, that's what you need to hear from this.
Yeah. And, this isn't coming from any judgment. It's coming from experience that I've had. Mm-hmm. I know you've had the same experience with other similar situations. And it's just, since we've been through it, kind of bringing it to the air and recognizing it. And, advice can go a long way, but sometimes people need to figure out the hard shit on their own.
Yep.
And they need a reality check, and you can shake them. You can keep giving that energy and that effort to them, making them try to realize that what they deserve is better. But at the end of the day, they're going to do what they think is best for them. And a person they should do what they think is best for them. Individually speaking, they should do that. Regardless, they are going to learn. It's going to be a lesson for them. And I don't want to think that they'll continue to be miserable. I don't want anyone to feel miserable, but they may be in a damper for a little bit, and hopefully they can crawl out of that hole together and work and make progress, little progress. It doesn't take you aren't going to change in a day, but if you're both willing to accept that, oh, fuck, this is not exactly what we wanted it to be, then you definitely can come to terms of recognizing that and making that progress for each other.
Yeah, no, I think it's possible to change it. It's just, basically what you were saying, you just have to choose and actually do that.
Mm-hmm. Willingness is from both.
Yeah.
Not one person. There may be a day where you're in a relationship and you have to carry the team, but you can't be carrying the team the whole fucking time in the relationship. You both have to meet each other halfway. You have to
also go by actions, not just words of saying they're going to work on it. Are they actually working on it? Or are they just telling you they're going to work on it and then you're just going to do the same thing?
Actions do speak a lot louder than words. I think sorry can be just a sorry word, especially if you don't take those moments to be like, hey, I'm wrong. And I'm sorry that I didn't see the way that you were seeing things. But moving forward, I want to do better. And then act on that. Show it.
Yeah.
Because when you love someone, there's no question that you wouldn't be able to show it if you really want to do better for that person.
I did at least want to make sure I threw this in before we went. Number one on that list for everybody, which it's a list of what healthy love feels like. Number one, they have saying the things you are afraid to admit and feeling more loved because of it, which for me is like one of the top reasons. And that kind of goes into the space being there to talk about things. And I said that so I could say this. The other thing they have in there is if you're still unsure if it's healthy, to start asking the scary questions, the questions you're too afraid to ask because you're scared of the potential answers. What questions are you avoiding specifically with them? And I will second that.
Yep.
And say to ask those questions, because you can speed up that process and save yourself some time if it's just not going to work.
And how they respond to those questions
is
the biggest thing, because the way you are feeling, again, is valid. And if they respond in a way that is reactive, is defensive, is not understanding to your feelings, then kind of realizing then and maybe taking steps back and reflecting on that certain situation and maybe tackling it later on. If I get the hope thing, I get the holding on and wanting to work things out because you've spent this amount of time with that particular person and you don't want to give up on them. I don't fucking give up on people. It's hard for me to give up on people. So having that hope, but also have a little hope for yourself too on what you deserve.
Yeah. I guess we can end it there.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll end it with ask the questions.
Ask the fucking questions.
Yeah. I guess our reminder also before we go is we are still running the pre-order for the maroon vulnerability is in crew neck sweatshirt. Christian, I still need to give you one now that I think about it.
I need to be repping.
Maybe Saturday I'll get you one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we will see y'all next week. See ya.
Bye.
Thanks, guys, for listening.
You can follow us over at No Subject Apparel on all social media.
You can discover us on YouTube.
And please like, subscribe, follow, and review us on whatever platform you're currently listening on.
New episodes will be dropped every Tuesday.
And you can sign up for our mailing list in the description of this episode to get a personal message from us and reminders for new episodes every week.